Hi, guys.
Hello, everybody. You want to say anything else? No? Okay, you good? All right,
Good.
to bed. All right, welcome to the ORCA pod covering the latest episode of Sydney Survivor. I promised on the advertisement that we would have some special guests because all my regular and part-time ORCAs abandoned me for greener pastures. But then whatever Jules had going on fell through. So Jules is here. Not really a special guest, but she's muted as well, though.
Yeah, sorry, I was telling off my dog. It's not that I had amazing plans that fell through. I changed my shift at work just so I could be here.
Oh, okay.
That's how much I wanted to come and talk to you.
That's very impressive, actually. So that's true dedication to the show. Unfortunately, everyone else was unavailable. So I had to bring in a new ORCA, surprise ORCA for today's episode. Now, I think everyone who is remotely in the org community knows this person. They are also in the LRG community. I'm going to make an official announcement here that they are a contestant on Melbourne Survivor 4 with Jules and with Danny, as everybody knows. So slowly releasing the cast here. But it's someone that everybody knows, I'm sure, if you are in the LRG or org community. And we think she's going to have a lot of opinions. They're going to be very exciting. She's always got an opinion. Let's bring in the special guest, Nat. Hello, Nat.
Hi. Hey guys, how are we?
Hey, Nat.
I'm good. You were obviously you've come fresh off doing some interviews with me on the Brent Viver org that is currently going on. And so, you've stepped up now to the real deal. Have you been following Sydney Survivor since episode 1, or have you just had to binge it in the last 3 days?
No. I've been following. I've been very vocal. Everyone knows who I am. It's okay.
Who are you particularly enjoying this season of Sydney Survivor?
I'm very much enjoying Matt, the gazelle, as I call him. Obviously, that's right. We show up every week together. And then obviously Sam, I've got him as one of my picks. Obviously we've got Queen Michelle. I'm thinking that's where I'm going to sit for now. I'm liking the others, but they're my faves.
There's a bit of a winner pick scoring thing being run by Adam, which not too many of us are in, but Nat and I are very, very close. I think she's only got me by 1 point. And I think ultimately it will come down to whether Sam wins or whether Maddie P wins or whoever finishes better, because we both have them as the top 2.
That's right.
Hey, I might come in and win the whole thing. You never know.
You don't even have your winner pick is gone. It's not happening.
Right, but just my winner pick. Like, I've got a whole bunch of others. I got Joseph bang on.
Yeah, but
good for you.
All mine are pretty much there as well.
Yeah, mine too.
All right, fine.
The only
we all had Shane really early.
Everyone had Shane really early. And look, you know what? Shane would be gone twice if he didn't have an abundance of advantages. And I think that's a good place to start the episode, because we get the blowback of Ethan's ridiculous misplay of the idol nullifier, and production have decided that it's blown and it can't be played. What do you guys think of this decision?
No, I think that's fair enough. First of all, who doesn't open the advantage?
Ethan.
I'm pretty sure it's the first for everything, but there we go. It's happened.
It was a crazy.
He didn't play it the appropriate way, so
he didn't play it at all.
Blown.
No,
yeah,
right.
He tried to play it after the votes had been cast, and he needs to play it when they're cast. So he's blown the fact that he's got it, but I don't think it should be a dead advantage.
And you could see the specific thing on the back where you were supposed to write down the person you were playing the idol nullifier on. So he absolutely. Pardon?
He didn't open it though.
Yeah. So what he did is he walked up to Eli and said, "I'm playing this." Eli opened it, said, "This isn't an idol. You can't play it here." It's a nullifier.
But then he gave it back to him. If he had gone, John, don't leave massive comments. We're not going to read all that.
Yeah.
If it was a trashed advantage, Eli should have thrown it in the imaginary fire or whatever.
But it's not. It's a valid advantage.
It's still an advantage that is still in play.
And also, from a production point of view, there's still an idol in the game. So you're better off having the idol nullifier in the game because it can make more interesting TV later on. Now,
exactly.
Ethan's desperate to get rid of this thing, though. He's not fighting the cause that he should be allowed to have it, because I think there's a valid argument to be made, but he's not making it. He's actively trying to get this thing out of the game and getting confirmation from Eli to that. Again, he's worried about being seen with the advantages. But for an idol nullifier, is that something Ethan really needed to desperately not have attached to him? He seemed very worried that people knew about it, but it's not an idol, it's a nullifier. It's very limited in scope and action. What do you think, Nat?
Well, the fact that he didn't know.
He knew. So he knows now, because at the tribal he was told.
Now.
But he doesn't also, to be fair to Ethan, I understand he binge watched 30 seasons of Survivor in the lead up to playing this, but stopped at 30. He is not actually aware of what the idol nullifier is or how it's played or what it does. So for him, he's just trying to get the stink off him of having an advantage.
Pretty much. He was trying to.
Well, he saw that the first advantage put we've lost Nat. He saw that the first advantage put a massive target on his back, so maybe he's worried that this is going to do the same thing. But I think if he's desperate to get rid of it, get rid of it. Give it to someone else. Say, look, I want this back after the game for a souvenir, but just give it to production.
Exactly.
He tried. He tried to give it to production, and Eli said, I'm not taking this. It's yours. It's a souvenir. It's out of the game. So he confirmed for Ethan at the challenge that it's not a valid advantage anymore. It is out of the game. Which, again, from a production point of view, it's a dumb production decision. There's still an idol in the game. It's worth keeping. Now, I think, and I actually don't like this decision as well from production because it makes no sense. He didn't actually play it. And what you're sort of indicating to the cast, if they're going to play 4D chess with your thinking, that there aren't any idols left.
I probably wouldn't be going that far in a one-day game.
It's possible.
You've thought about this a lot.
I just thought about it right then. These are the thoughts. I just have these thoughts all the time, bubbling.
All right, well, not all of us are CK. We're not all playing 4D chess.
No.
Some of us struggle with checkers.
I can't even do that.
Yeah. So, fallout from the tribal, Michelle is unhappy, in particular with Sam.
Yeah.
Danny's taking the blame for this. I feel like it's my fault. I yelled at Eli to take it when he played incorrectly. Yes, Danny, you did. We all heard it.
And he's like, John feels bad for Ethan. Ethan is having a bad week, actually. Let's leave it up.
We love Ethan. Everybody here loves Ethan.
We all love Ethan. John's view is production should just let Shane idol out a third person. So why let there be another fire? Because the living legend Shane. She's very unhappy at Sam in particular because he described himself as the swing vote. So he's saying that going into that tribal council, Ethan, Maddie P, and hang on. Have I jumped ahead? What am I doing?
I think you've jumped ahead to the next vote. What the fallout's going to be after this vote.
Yes, I have.
Sam was the swing vote here. Sam could not have been the swing vote in the last vote because basically after all the idols and advantages had come out, it was going to be between Michelle and Jazz and Danny and Kristie. So I think Michelle should have, if she wasn't, should have been just relieved rather than anything else.
I'm confused by my own situation.
I have no idea where you're going on.
Have I got confused by the next time? Have I got precog ability of what's been going on? Anyway, okay, yeah. So they come out. It's a shit show. It was a shit show over tribal. This was what's happening. But they still have the numbers because they think they've got Shane, presumably. If you're Michelle, you've got Luke, you've got Sam, and at this point, that this new alliance starts forming which I feel is going to be the alliance that goes to the end.
I see
guys. The boys
plus Jazz, yeah. That was the 5.
I agree.
The 5.
I think that's a good alliance for all of the people involved. It's all the big threats coming together, which is something that we've seen people talk about in previous seasons of Survivor. But we never actually see it happening. And I think here we're getting it.
Look, Shane has another idol which will disrupt the apple cart at some point, because presumably they vote out, the sensible vote is Michelle, and then you would do Shane after that, and he's going to throw his idol in there, and he could do something really interesting with it at that point. The thing though, but I agree, it makes sense for everyone in that group. Like for Maddie P and Ethan, they need numbers that they can connect with. They are got the biggest profiles. Whether they played the best games or not is debatable, but they have huge profile from all the moves they've been involved with throughout the game. Sam and Luke has got this huge target on his back as a challenge beast, which he only enhanced in this challenge. Sam is like the best placed of them all, probably to get taken to the end, potentially, like being seen as the least threatening, where I actually think he's probably played the best game out of all.
I think he's the nice guy.
Yeah.
But
I think he's played the best game and will have the best. He has the best relationships with the jury. They will like him the most, and he has a game that's worth voting for. It's not like he's a nothing player. So he's in a wonderful position.
And he speaks very well. He could convince a jury.
Yeah. And then Jazz, I think, has a threat level just on being the edge returnee, but I still feel like even if she was at the end, being the edge returnee is probably not going to get her the votes from the edgies, which is really what you're going for, I think, to come back in the game and win it.
She needs to be making moves now. She can't be just come back into the game and just sit quietly. She needs to do a Chris Underwood and actually make some stuff happen.
Yeah. And she's made a move.
I agree.
She made a move.
So then she needs to make another. She needs to keep making moves. She needs to really build an impressive resume.
But she made a move as part of a group. She needs to do something that she can put, this is my move. Like, I don't think anyone is looking at Joseph's vote out as Jazz's move.
Correct.
She needs to have something that she makes happen. And I think that for her, I think she's probably very nervous about getting sent out again. So I could see it happening if she wins immunity. I could see her trying to put something together then. But until that, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think she'll lay low for a bit.
Yeah, and she's in a group with the boys, and realistically, if they're in the final 5, despite her edge connection, I think people will be looking more at a Luke or an Ethan, whichever of them is not immune, or even Matt, as opposed to her.
Absolutely.
So this alliance made sense for all 5 of them in such a straightforward, obvious way that I think it will be hard to break this group now running into the end game.
The only way it'll break is if they turn on each other.
Yeah.
And, that's going to be maybe we should take, Luke doesn't win a challenge, and they're like, should we do Luke now?
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know if Sam's going to be for that. And if that got told to Sam, I think then the whole thing could collapse on itself. Because I think Sam's probably counting on Luke taking him to the end, right?
I would think so too.
Potentially, yeah.
Like, does Sam think that he gets taken by an Ethan or a Maddie P if they're the final 3, or are those guys going together? What would you do if you're in that scenario?
Is it a final 2 or a final 3?
It's a final 3, sorry, actually, yes.
Yeah, so I think if that 5 is going to go to 5, then I think Sam's in a really good spot because, no one's going to come for him or Jazz. So at final 5, I think if Luke doesn't win, it's probably him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I would probably be wanting to take out Maddie over Ethan. I think Matt's a much better speaker. Yeah, I don't know.
I think Ethan, I think Matt is more liked than Ethan.
Yes.
Even though they've pretty much made the same moves.
They have. They've just gone about it in different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think some people have found Ethan to be a bit brash in his approach, whereas everyone loves Matt. right?
Yeah.
Except for Danny when he was getting annoyed at her for saying he was a big, strong, muscly man and getting upset about the hair at that trouble. But like the odds are, the only person Danny would like of this group that we're discussing, I think the only one Danny would want to vote for is Sam. And I think the only one Kristie would want to vote for is Sam. And I think Michelle would want to vote for Sam. So I think at some point they've got to wake up and realize Sam may not be so obvious, but he has like all of the friends on the jury.
But again, that's when it comes down to a very short amount of time. People aren't thinking that far ahead. Like they're thinking vote to vote. They've got 10 minutes or 20 minutes to go to tribal. No one can afford to be thinking that far down the road. So they're thinking, who's the biggest threat right now? And Sam is not going to be at the top of anyone's radar.
No. Oh, no, I agree. I just think that at a final 5, if I was there, Sam is a lot more worrying than Luke.
Position-wise, sure. Yeah.
Danny's asking, do we think it's Sam over Michelle? Is that, Danny, do you mean like as your juror vote? I'm
not counting on Michelle being there.
We were saying that those are in the final 3. But yes, if Michelle is at the end, then Danny votes for Michelle.
Yeah. I'm assuming the final 5 is a Luke, Jazz, Ethan, Maddie P, Sam situation with maybe a little bit of Shane sprinkled in if he idles one of them out on the way into that situation.
Yeah, I reckon that would be.
So I think we could get a couple of boring votes coming up. Maybe we should talk about the challenge, another children's game, straight out of
Squid Game.
Straight out of the Squid Game conclave. It's a children's game. Green light. Did anyone? I felt that Maddie P was hard done by.
Agreed.
No,
this challenge was rigged for Luke to win.
No.
Yeah.
Wait. He moved.
I didn't see the movement. I didn't see the movement.
Mate,
John's saying there wasn't enough. Yeah.
How could you stop something? It was like a freight train coming. Like that.
He stopped. Oh,
moved.
It was borderline.
I don't give a shit. He moved.
Okay,
like,
interesting.
See the way he stopped off? Like, why don't you have a tanty before you?
Well, I don't think he felt he moved. He felt he was, and
I think he didn't.
I think what did him hard was.
How did I stop? How am I meant to stop?
I think he's here and he's
adamant he did not move, but Luke totally did.
You moved.
I think what did him dirty, that hurt him, was that, excuse me, his every other stop that he had besides that one were the most unbelievable stops. That's right, I've ever seen in my life.
It looked like he was like someone had pressed pause on him.
Yeah, they were perfect. And that last one was not as perfect. It wasn't just that little bit. It was a little bit more, but it was still 10 times better than anything else everyone else was doing. It just wasn't up to the Maddie P standard comparatively. But he didn't move.
No.
And I also feel that the person with the flags should not be looking at the course.
No. Yeah, what was that all about?
No.
Turn around.
Blindfolded.
Yeah.
Blindfolded at least.
The idea of like actual children's game, red light, green light, you turned away and then you turn around last minute. So they couldn't have been able to see what was going on.
Walking only. Walking only.
No, I think you can run.
No,
running is just harder to stop, so it's better to walk.
It was. Michelle said how slippery it was. Just and
it would
have made it longer as well. The game longer.
Apparently, it was very slippery on that grass.
It looked it.
So I feel he was robbed. I feel they just gave it to Luke.
Yeah.
And when Matt pitched, let's be clear. Go back to the up and downs and the guy that's watching.
Yeah, true. It was very.
The guy that's doing this. When Matt was like 2 meters from the line, he's like, and then
with Luke, he's like, all right, Luke, here you go.
Yeah, and then Luke just starts running, and he's just like, no, off you go, all good. Like it seemed completely one-sided towards a Luke victory.
Danny is clapping back at Matt. If we're asking for a review, let's go back to the merge puzzle. Danny is salty.
Production, are you making notes? Making notes.
Well, my biggest note for production for everything that this season is any challenge or anything you're going to do, you need to do a run through of it first. Like this challenge, like where they had the music playing and then they just abandoned that halfway through because they realized it was not going to work.
I like the Squid Game thing about it. It was good.
No, I know, but it wasn't working because they were too far away and not everyone could hear it. So they had to abandon it. So with season 2, every challenge you do a trial version of it. Whether you do it at a mini game or whether you just have a bunch of people running a challenge to see what happens, you need to test your challenges before you actually film. That is my number one piece of advice for production.
Was that not done?
Well, I
don't know if it was, because there's been the sandbag challenge. Everyone was losing their sandbags. There's a lot of things that looked like it hadn't really been tested.
Kristie almost died choking on a muesli bar. The puzzle last week, of course. Luke's saying, "Nah, come on, it wasn't like that." Look, we're not blaming you, Luke. You're just playing the game. You're just following the instructions.
And Luke, of course, you're not going to argue. You won.
If someone gave me a dud puzzle victory, I'd be claiming it too.
Luke is Eli's equivalent of Jeff Probst with Colby. He's a little bit in love with him and
Who
wants
isn't
him
in
to
love
win.
with Luke? I'm in love with Luke. I get it.
Oh no, I agree.
Are you in love with Luke, Nat?
No.
No, really?
No, not me.
Sorry, Luke. Anyway, so the victory goes to Luke. And to be honest, it was probably a good thing it did, because I think that in terms of the groupings that have been formed here, this alliance, and I like this alliance. I like what could happen in the final 5. I'm particularly rooting for Ethan and Maddie P and Sam, who have got my winner pick, of course. But I'm really into the Ethan and Maddie P story. As a viewer, picks aside, I enjoy their tale. They
you like
seem
the
like
underdog story.
Yeah. So I'm glad one of them get picked off here. If Luke isn't immune, I could see Luke being more hesitant to make a big move like this, because he would be too worried about getting votes himself on this vote, I feel.
But at the same time, if he is someone who is vulnerable, aligning with other big threats is a good move for him. So I think he still goes with it either way.
I agree, but he essentially here has turned on Joseph, who was someone he was sort of working with, Michelle, who he was working with, Shane, who had been making sort of promises to. He's made a decision, and to make that decision, particularly with the sort of chaos that Ethan has played with to date, you might commit to Ethan and say, yeah, let's do this move. And then suddenly, next thing you know, Ethan's telling everyone else about it, because that's the sort of way he's played. I feel that if Luke wasn't immune, he might not have been so happy to go, you know what? Sure, let's do this. This is a big move. I love it. He would be more wary that votes are coming to him. He's been saying it for 4 episodes. I'm the big target. I'm the challenge guy. They all want to get me. I keep hearing my name. That's how he's feeling. He's got that level of paranoia that would make him hesitant to give more reasons to take him out, I feel.
Yeah, and look, I do agree that, so often we see someone who wins immunity and uses it to make a big move, and that's what we've seen here. So, I don't know. Luke, would you have still made the move if you didn't have immunity?
I've been criticized here that people say things they don't mean. What do you mean? Luke, the thing I'm talking about, Luke,
I think, is she talking about the fact that Luke was kind of working with Joseph? And that's what she means? He was sort of stringing him along?
Yeah. But stringing someone along.
Could you also please explain this comment of James Wolfe? I don't understand what he's saying. Luke
being Eli's equivalent of Colby to Prost is this. Well, because James Wolfe is the ORCA. We're named after him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you not know that?
No, I knew that, but I don't the equivalent. What?
I think he's just trying to reference himself and how this podcast is named after him. Yeah, he's never been on it. Maybe I should have got him as a guest. All I'm suggesting, Luke said in confessionals a while ago that he was keeping people like Joseph and Shane on the side as an option later.
Yeah, as an option. He's decided not to go with that option.
Which is fine. That's fine. But, he definitely said the things that he was planning on using them as potential working options. So I'm not sure what Michelle is saying. That's all. I'm just unsure. She can post another comment if she so desires.
But I don't think it's fair to say that Luke turned on Joseph. I don't think he was...
Turned on Michelle. Can we go with that at least?
Did he turn on Michelle?
Or did he?
Just not voting with someone isn't turning on them.
Yeah.
I'm talking about anyone stringing anyone else along. Not all conversations here are truthful. That's very true.
Yeah, but obviously. But I'm saying from Luke's point of view, he had people that he was going to string along as options, and when you cut those options, then you no longer have those options.
Oh, Michelle agrees with me. Thanks, Michelle.
What does she agree with? I'm saying the
I
same
don't know, but
thing
she said correct, Jules. So I'm taking it. I like when people tell me I'm right.
But here's Danny saying I'm right. He definitely turned on Michelle. That's a turn on Michelle.
I disagree. Sorry, Danny. Sorry to disagree with you, girl boss queen. I think to not vote with your ally doesn't mean you've turned on them. If he has no intention of voting Michelle out, which I mean we've seen for this alliance that he does, but that's future Luke's problem. But for this vote, I don't think he turned on her. He just didn't agree with what she wanted to do and went another way.
If you tell your ally that you are voting for one person and you vote for another person, you have essentially turned on them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If you don't vote the way you say you will to your
ally. All right,
ally...
So in Winners at War, Tony voted out Sophie because he felt her and Sarah were too close. Was Tony turning on Sarah there?
Only their personal relationship salvaged that. If they didn't have their actual out-of-game personal relationship, I think he would have struggled to bring her back. And look, Michelle is not going to be like, fuck you, Luke, you screwed me over. Fuck you. She's going to be like, no, we're still together, right? Like, but it doesn't mean she does. Okay, she's saying
he never said he liked me.
Yeah, I'm saying, yeah. He never said he was voting for Joseph. Well, what did he tell you he was doing then, Michelle?
This is not a call of a spot show. We can get that later. But see, I'm right again. This is just the podcast of Jules is right.
Who is Luke telling he's voting for to his allies then?
I don't know. We didn't see that.
So maybe it's Sam that screwed her over. Maybe Luke said he was going to vote for Joseph. The point is, Luke's made the point that, that everything's getting people fired up in this discussion. Joseph was with us out of necessity. I agree. Never felt the trust. Understand. You wanted to keep shields and that. Yeah, I don't think you betrayed Joseph in any way, Luke. I don't think you ever had a set forth handshake alliance with Joseph. And
Joseph voted Danny twice the last two votes. So
no. Luke didn't owe Joseph anything, but I felt he didn't owe, in sense of an alliance, Michelle something. But if he told Michelle that he was actually going to vote for Joseph in this vote, and then I just don't see why. The reason I'm confused is I don't see why Michelle would then, okay, we don't have the numbers. I'm going to vote for the wrong person then. Like, why wouldn't she pile on the votes?
Wait, Danny, who's a bitch? You calling me a bitch? Wow.
Can't be me.
It must be me.
Luke's very in strong defensive mode tonight.
Oh, okay.
He explains his desire to potentially vote for Joseph. Easy enough forgiveness after considering that Michelle wouldn't work with Ethan after voting for him. It's a good move. I like it. Great. He told her he was considering it, and I guess that's enough to fall back on.
Oh, so Joseph's a bitch. Okay, that's fine.
In the next time, though, Michelle is annoyed at Sam, right? Is that where my head was at the start of this episode?
I mean, I think she probably is, yeah.
Yeah.
If we saw it or not, I would imagine that she is.
Yeah, I thought that she was annoyed because she's obviously worried about her numbers now. Like, whatever happened, they've made a group of 5 have just voted and come together.
Yeah. And, it's not nice to be on the wrong side of the numbers. So Michelle will probably come back to camp feeling like, okay, I wasn't in on that vote. Am I next? So it'll take a fair bit of damage control to get her back on side if that's what they want to do.
Yeah, there's 7 people left. One of them is Shane. Like, maybe
Shane is with no one.
Yeah, Shane's with no one. Maybe they go Shane next time, but in the end of the day, she's more threatening. She's so much more threatening. If I was
Michelle.
her, I would be so worried about this next vote. I would feel like if I don't win immunity, I'm gone. That's how I would feel as Michelle.
So what's out there? Just the idol that Shane's got still?
No, Shane's also got an extra vote.
As far as we know. Yeah, he does have an extra vote and an idol.
Yeah, he does.
I would presume, and who knows in this game, but there aren't any more advantages. We've had 2 tribe idols. We've had 2 early game advantages. We've had a merge idol and a merge idol nullifier, and an extra vote that came from the edge.
Eli loves an advantage and he loves a twist, so I think there's more to come.
I think
is anybody aware of what Shane's carrying?
No.
So he's like in the best position right now, really.
And he pulled off that little front.
He's probably in the best position to get to the end. I don't think he can win.
No, I don't think he can win, but to get to the end, I think he's doing okay.
He's in a funny position, right, where he needs to use his last 2 advantages in a way that really impacts the game to probably give him a resume that's worth voting for. But I think if he does that, he'll get voted out because they'll be like, oh, Shane just did something really interesting. Plus he had all those advantages. We've got to get rid of him. He's sort of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. In that way.
And so we're at 7 now. The extra vote's probably not going to make a huge difference. I think if he can hang on to it at final 6,
he could have 6.
And maybe break a 3-3 and make it a 4-3, use that extra vote to get someone out then play his idol at 5. Maybe.
Is it go to 5? I'll go to 5? Yeah.
Yeah.
Extra vote, play at 6 to make a big move, then an idol play, particularly if he can get the votes on himself and like save himself a 3rd time, would be a pretty spectacular thing. But then he's got to be the number 1 target at 4. But maybe he wins an immunity. Like a run like that is not a game that's not worth voting for. Like the thing is, we just underestimate Shane's ability to do something really interesting with the advantages because he's never watched a single episode of Survivor.
And that's the biggest thing lacking for him is the game awareness because he doesn't have that experience watching. I think if he had binged a season or 2 of modern Survivor where there's advantages, he would be in a really good position.
I think so. There's a chance. I don't think he would be that much different of a person. I think he's still the same sort of guy and still the same sort of style. And he's not a super fan. He's watched 1 or 2 seasons or something. But he would have had a bit more awareness of how to use his advantage, as you said, Jules, I think, to make them more interesting. And I think to date, he's used them well. Like, he saved himself twice when he was going to be voted out. So what more could you want to do with them? It's just he needs to use these last couple in a really interesting way.
I think both times he's used them, though, it was pretty obvious that he needed to. Like, the first idol he used at the massive tribal where Ethan basically called him out and told him essentially to play it. Then the legacy advantage when there's only 5 options and he knew votes were coming for him. So I don't think he's going to get a huge amount of credit for the playing his advantages because it's not like he's had these amazing reads, knows the votes are coming to him when they've tried to blindside him. I think if he can use this last idol in a way, in that way, like when he's reading the room really well, that'll get a bit more credit. But the other 2, not so much.
I reckon the extra vote play could get even a bit more respect because it's a bit more of a interesting advantage. Like it's not a save myself sort of situation. You've got to do something fancy with it. Could be interesting. He's a great person. Look, he's a great wild card to have here at the final 7. I actually really like this final 7. I really like the whole merge group actually, and
the whole cast has been really good.
And I was a fan of the pair destinies. You weren't, Jules, but as I said, Danny and Kristie going has opened up the game. It opened up the game for this vote. This vote probably wouldn't have happened the way it did. And then the next vote, I think, is going to be interesting. Look, we think that they might still vote Michelle, but maybe not. Like, it doesn't take much for Sam and Luke to swing in a Shane or a Jazz, and suddenly Ethan's gone. Like, that dynamic is available. These numbers are available for people to make switch moves.
John, how many times is CK going to get the name of the twist wrong?
Entwined Destinies is a better name.
Tied Destinies.
I know, but Entwined Destinies is a better fucking name, so I'm going with the better name.
I disagree.
It's not your fucking game, mate.
It's a mouthful to say Entwined Destinies.
It's not even twined. It's paired Destinies.
It's tied Destinies.
Paired.
Because you are tied to the other person.
I'm pretty sure it's paired Destinies.
Tied.
I'm going to...
Somebody.
I'm pretty sure it is paired.
Anyone?
Tied. Anyway, but no, back to your point of Danny and Kristie being voted out. Yeah, I think if they were still there, we would have seen a red pagonging, and no one wants that. So
No.
CK, you're being confidently wrong. Name a more iconic duo. Thanks for being here, John. I'm loving it.
Yeah, my friends have my best friend has a term for that. He and his wife. One of my nicknames is Kelstar, and it's called being Kelstar Shaw. And you're so certain of something that's so obviously wrong, so they use it in their everyday life. So they'll say, "Are you sure about that, honey?" And he's like, "I'm Kelstar Shaw." So,
no, Danny, I didn't say I enjoyed it. I'm not happy you're out. Never for a second was I happy you're out. I just think it makes more interesting gameplay. I think you were so dominant that you would have just destroyed this game if you were still here.
it would have been a boring as fuck merge.
Absolutely. So. Whatever. Oh, she mad.
Hey, I'm here. I'm not here to see the people that I'm friends with or that I know better than others do well. I'm here to watch a good TV show. That's what I want to see, right? So I'm all for the crazy twists. I guess before we bring in Joseph, is there anything more we want to talk about the episode? Nat, look, your first time here on the show. Is there anything you want to talk about? Just Sydney Survivor in general, how you've been feeling about the overall season. What do you think? Too many twists? Not enough twists. Write them out.
No, right amount of twists.
Not enough twists?
No, there's plenty. There's been plenty. I think this season's been amazing, to be quite honest. I'm loving, just all the editing, the music. I'm enjoying the music that goes with everything, tribal councils and stuff. The challenges have been really good. And
you like the challenges? You like the challenges?
I'm all about the challenges.
I know you like. I know you're the challenge. You love challenges, but do you like these particular challenges? I found these. Look, they're fine. It's a one-day game. They're going to do what they can do, but they've been a little bit juvenile. Yes, I think that's a perfect word, Jules.
Yes, but I could probably do those. So fucking shut up.
Fair.
I could probably dominate them. So yeah, no, probably juvenile, but they could probably for next season go a little bit upscale.
Which contestants did you like that went out pre-merge? You had Leah. You had
we're all about Leah.
Marlene.
What about John?
John, JT.
Yeah. How funny was he?
Not salty.
He would have been so good in merge.
He would have been, yeah, if he came back. I want him to come back. That was the one I was trying to manifest. I was wearing the Captain America shirt and everything last week. That's what I really wanted. But he was particularly great because he was the first boot. Like, he just had that salt energy about being the first
He was the perfect Ream Daily.
Yeah, he was. And like JP could have been like that. I think if it'd been a Edge of Extinction in Melbourne Survivor 2, I think JP would have been an amazing salty Edge member. And I think Scott from season 3 equally would have been an amazing salty Edge player, providing that sort of level of salt. Scott was doing it from the sidelines as he watched the game unfold, if you were there at Melbourne 3. So, yes, he would have very much been there. Well, it's been great having Nat on for her takes. And I think there wasn't really a lot in this episode. I think we've really covered most of it, but it was a really interesting one. I think it really sets up the rest of the season to be quite interesting, or it could not, or the next two episodes could be dull, but we'll have to see. But coming to us live now, I said in the comments from a place you'd rather be, because Joseph has picked up his legal career and moved to the Cayman Islands. I don't know if it's for the sun, if it's because he's embezzling a bunch of billionaire drug lords' money. I'm not really sure. But it's like 7 a.m. in the morning there, and here he is on our show tuning in. Welcome to Joseph.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Joseph.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no, we're thrilled to have you. You were involved in a lot of big moving parts of this game. But on this particular vote, I think there was a few, I believe, confessionals. They weren't shown live, but there was voiceovers where you were very, very confident about this vote, that you don't even need a vote. You don't even need to go to tribal council. You're not going in that soon. Was that from this episode, or have they taken some creative liberties with other confessionals?
So I actually took creative liberty with this. There was unfortunately some lost footage of my exit interviews, so I took the time to just kind of exaggerate what I was saying going for tribal, and I just wanted to make it a bit more entertaining. I didn't say that during the game whatsoever.
So did you think you were in trouble going into this tribal council then?
Yeah, I did. I knew that my name was up there, which was fine, and I had a confident feeling that it was going to be a me and Ethan showdown, and I thought at least it was going to be at worst a draw. But I think, honestly, I think Jazz coming in with the last minute or being the pull along for that alliance of the guys was the one that really was the nail in the coffin for me.
Did you think that Jazz was interested in working with you guys, or you never? Once you thought about it,
the episode was like what 35 minutes long. I
wasn't
feel
very
like
long.
that was longer than the time we had between the challenge and tribal, and I think I fell foul to the nature that was Sydney Survivor's one-day game. And this, to be honest, this felt like the quickest round that there was. I did confessional. I didn't even talk to half the people. I didn't have time. And I was like in Michelle's ear from tribe camp all the way up to the tribal council, being like, Ethan's coming for us. He's saying both of our names. He's trying to fuck both of us over. And Michelle was like, oh God, oh no, oh no. And I was trying to talk to Sam, and I knew that was the moment that was probably going to be, because I talked to Sam. I was like, Sam, we have to vote Ethan. He's playing everyone. And Sam's just like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, oh, he's voting for me. Great.
Yeah. How did you? Let's go back one tribal to the infamous threat,
Sure.
where Ethan threatens you with his advantage. That turned out not to actually be an idol. What did you do with that information? Did you tell Shane? How did it all unfold once Ethan threatened you?
So I knew about Shane's legacy pre-merge because he said, oh, I've got something, but this was probably like episode 2. He said, I've got something, but because I confronted him like, Shane, I know you have like several things. And he said, I've got something, but I can't use it. And you wouldn't say what it was. And to me, I'm like, oh, that just sounds like a legacy advantage. So I just assumed that would be playable at merge. So when Ethan was confronting me, I just kind of played dumb. And that's why I was kind of like, what do you want me to do? Because I was like in my mind, oh, okay, we're safe. And at that point, I didn't know it was an idol fire. And Kristie was there as well for most of that conversation. And she was also kind of like, I could just see her like ping-ponging, like, what the fuck is going on? And I just played dumb to Ethan. And then I went to Shane. I'm like, Shane, we have to use it. We're fine. And then we get there. And Shane and I are talking the whole tribal about where to vote. And Shane was not budging on Kristie at all. He's like, we have to get her out. I don't care. This is where my vote's going. And I sat there kind of like, I weirdly, through just sheer dumb luck, have the swing vote technically if I know where all the votes are going. And I was like, I can either vote Michelle or Jazz, or I can vote for Kristie and Denny. And I know I said in that episode, I want to keep Kristie, because I
want to go to the end with Kristie so I can beat her.
Which I think is business. And Kristie was like, yeah, you should have done that. That's such a great decision. I think between filming that and going to the voting booth, I was like, this is a horrible idea. This was my one chance to get her. And this would be epic. So I was in that voting booth for a good 2.5 minutes trying to one, figure out who to vote for, and 2, lift up the little things to see if there's an idol under them, or look under the table for an idol. It was like a Hail Mary. But when Ethan played the idol nullifier, I thought it was going to be accepted, and he was going to be like, yeah, I'm going to play it on these guys. But I'm pretty sure I knew she also had that second idol as well. So I was like, oh, we're fine regardless.
You knew about Shane's second idol?
Yeah, I think so.
Because no one else seems to know about that from the comments.
When he found the other one, I'm quite sure I knew about the first idol quite early as well. I don't know how, but That's just kind of my, it's a year ago, but that was like my recollection. And I like to think that Shane and I, if that was a Tie Destinies round, Kristie and Denny were like Kelly and Michelle from Destiny's Child, and Shane and I had our Beyonce moment.
You didn't know. Yeah, I thought you must have known something, because when Shane played it, there wasn't like a lot of like, yes, like, oh my God, like amazing. You're just sort of like, yeah, Shane's got that. I'm good.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about the whole I don't know if I should be accepted or like out of play.
Do you think we were talking about this earlier? Do you think it should have been out of play, or
I don't think so. Only because I'd say, like, say someone got an extra vote, and it's like you have to play that in the voting booth, and then you go and you don't do that, but you go up to tribal council, and it's like, does anybody have a meaning idol? And someone's like, no, I got an extra vote. I would expect the host or the person to be like, no, you can't use it now, but you can use it later.
Yeah, you've missed your chance. It'll be the same as like a safety without power. You try and play it after the votes have been done. Be like, I'm going to use my safety without power. It's like, no, you have to do that like before the votes are cast. Like there's a right time to play things.
I agree. So, having said that, I think either outcome would have been entertaining, and we know one of them was very entertaining, regardless of whether it's right or not.
Yes. Well, they couldn't let you. I certainly don't think it would be appropriate to have let him play the idol nullifier the improper way, just like walking up.
I agree.
That would be absurdly overpowered. Wouldn't you say, Jules?
Yes, I would. I knew you were going to bring that
up. So who would you say, Joseph, you had a very solid social game and seemed to do the best job of all the former Reds, ingratiating yourself with the new Blues. You seem to have a great position on the original Red tribe as well. Did you feel that your social game was strong when you were playing, and did you think that was going to be a strength of yours in the game?
I did, but I think where I went wrong is that I'd had some good, solid, foundational social relationships with everyone, but there was a lot of times where I could have solidified them a lot deeper, and I think that's kind of where I went wrong. Is that I'm like, oh, I've established good relationships with everyone. That's enough, and I kind of took it for granted, and there wasn't really anyone that I thought, other than maybe Leah, formed a solid alliance with. I honestly wasn't aligned with Shane. Out of choice. I was aligned with Shane out of necessity. And after that vote, people saw me as a threat by de facto of being with Shane for so long and him having all of these advantages. The threat kind of like his aura of threat came onto me, and I felt that. And I was trying to honestly distance as much as possible. At the start of that round, I was pushing for Shane. I was like, guys, and I was talking to Ethan, like, Ethan, I'm not with Shane at all. Let's just boot him. It's fine, whatever. Yeah. But I knew he had that. I'm quite sure I said that because I knew he had another idol. I was just hoping that everyone would vote for him. He'd play the idol, and I would be fine, and maybe someone else goes. But that's where my game went wrong. I didn't have a solid, real alliance. Like I saw Luke and the Cat say that some people didn't trust me, or we didn't trust me that much, which Luke was kind of surprised about, because in the sandbag challenge, I really was trying to help Luke out. Be like, hey, Luke, I was easier the whole time. Give me this win so people think there's someone else that's good at challenges here. And I really thought I was trying to help him out, and I wasn't going to blindside him, like convince everyone else to vote him out. That was my attempt at like building some kind of relationship with someone. But yeah, I think I was a bit wishy-washy at the end.
I think the problem is that, but Luke's the sort of guy that, like, once he's in the challenge, he's in the zone. He's not losing.
No, yeah. There was a lot of us like that, and I definitely was like that as well.
You were, I think, on the whole, from memory, looking at quite good at the challenges. There's a lot of one-on-ones, and you were doing a really good job. Did you expect to be a solid challenge performer? You seem to have really brought a real triple threat to the game that ultimately just emerged. And I think there's something really interesting about the Tie Destinies. Is that what people want to call it? Tie Destinies? Something really interesting about the Tie Destinies, where because of the fact that I think that people like Luke and Sam and Kristie and Danny and Ethan and
the pairings were wild.
Yeah, because all those people were actually so close, do you think that then became a perception that, the other ones must be close as well? Because you've been with Shane, of course, the whole game as well. So naturally it just built on this Shane and Joseph connection even more so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I like I said, it was just honestly wild that those were the pairings, which was just kind of like the Survivor gods being like, let's just fuck with everyone and tell everyone who they're actually working with, or pretending to work with, or where there are relationships. So I think definitely the whole trajectory of the game would have been different had there been some really like unobvious pairings. But those were the cards that we were dealt with, and we kind of had to go off that. And I definitely agree that it kind of put a magnifying lens on everyone's relationships.
That's fair.
Do you have any perception of why they just then went after you on this vote and not Shane? Like you mentioned that you were tarred with the Shane brush a bit. Were they afraid of other advantages? Were you just seen as a better player, more threatening at the end, but paired with him? Why was it you and not him?
I mean, I like to think it was because I was a better player and a bigger threat. I think had I found any advantages, I definitely would have. I mean, you said that Shane, he's used advantages too correctly so far, which is what you want to do in a game of Survivor, and I would have liked to done the same had I found any. But I think I'd be confused, not confused, but wondering why the whole time. But I think I like to think that it's because maybe I wasn't a bit of a threat at that point. And early merge, I think some of the big social threats and also challenge threats are the ones that are targeted early merge. I don't necessarily think it's the strategic people because they're the ones running the show at this point, right?
Yeah, well, you had the relationships across the board, as you say. You just perhaps didn't lock them in as well as you'd hoped to do. But everyone saw you as the guy that was connected in with the blue and the red, I guess, more than anyone else in the game.
Jules, yeah, I definitely try to solidify myself like that as well, especially after the swap.
Yeah, and you did the best job by far.
I can see what you've done. You got complacent with, when you said you started off with your relationships and just solidified what you thought and then left it as is. Did you feel that if you maybe went back and gave more to those people, you would have still been in the game? Like your relationships would have been a bit stronger? Do you mean,
I think so.
Does that mean like sharing yourself as in just in general in real life, or does that mean game-wise?
I think more game-wise. I was pretty... one of the things I really enjoyed about the whole experience was that everyone was really open about most of what they are. I lied about my job. Merlin lied about... Michelle didn't tell anyone that she was the Australian Survivor fan, Facebook host or whatever, and no one caught that either. So, I mean, people strategically left parts of themselves that they thought would highlight them being a bit more of a threat. But for the most part, everyone was just kind of themselves. So I think it was more of a game-wise thing of getting in with people. And I hadn't really talked about proper solid alliances really with anyone because I was like, oh, this is fine. And yeah, that's kind of the theme of my demise.
Did you approach people about alliances, or did you let them come to you?
People came to me all the time. I didn't have to do anything, which I thought was kind of perplexing, but also great at the same time. Like there were times when we were on the challenge map, and I'd be sitting next to Kristie, or Kristie would make an effort to come over to me. And she's like, "Are you okay? How's everything going?" And she wouldn't do that to anyone else. And there was times where Michelle was like, "Hey, I think it was before the swap, she was like, yeah, we really like you, Joseph. We want to work with you." I'm like, people are crossing travel lives just to talk to me. This is great. So I think that kind of lulled me into a false sense of security as well.
Do you, you said that you lied about your job, for a long line of lawyers lying about their jobs on Survivor. What did you tell people that you did?
I said I was a medical researcher, which is partly true because I did like a biology degree with my law degree, and I did like internships at biomedical research facilities or whatever. So I wanted to lie about something at least I could talk about. I wasn't going to be like, I'm a childcare worker or a nurse, something like that.
Yeah, you've got to have something. There's someone that played. I'm curious because there's someone that played Backyard that lied about being a lawyer. and said they were a journalist with no actual knowledge about what being a journalist entails, which I think is a risky proposition. And they're asking her all these questions about journalism. So you got to have something to throw it in there.
No, I agree. It's like that was, I think, a decision I made like when I was interviewed for the game. I was like, I want to lie about this because one, I thought it could be kind of fun, and the whole time I was kind of like hee, and then people were like, "You're a what?" After we like finished filming everything and we like caught up and stuff, it was just kind of
But Malene's was the best, where she was worried about people perceiving her as a successful small business owner, so told everyone she was a swim coach, yet still told everyone she runs ultra marathons.
I know, that was hilarious because it was like the moment she said that, it was like it would not leave her whatsoever, and that was the only thing anyone thought out Malene is the ultra marathon runner. So it was unfortunately, I think, a bad decision to make, and it was the one instance where you told something about yourself that maybe you could have kept quiet, and it kind of it's a lesson to everyone. Don't tell everyone that you're an ultra marathon runner.
She would have been fine with just marathon. Didn't need the ultra.
Yeah, no, a marathon runner is fine. It's kind of like, oh yeah, that's kind of like cool.
Maybe even like I do some 5K fun runs, you know, just
I understood where Malene's coming from. You know, she is in the older bracket of players in the game, and she is a woman, and historically that has been a tough position to come into the Survivor game for. So, and because people perceive you as not being a physical contributor, so you want everyone to know I am a physical contributor. Don't judge this book by its cover. But marathon's fine. You don't need the ultra.
Yeah, it's a balancing act, really.
Yeah.
What is an ultra marathon? Just asking.
Like 100 kilometers.
100K.
100-kilometer run and like a
what the fuck would you want to do that for?
300K bike ride, and I think the swim is
you're thinking of an Ironman.
No, okay.
Ultra marathon is just a really long marathon. 100K.
Oh, okay. So you just run what, like 100? You run a double, triple?
2.5.
It's like it's like 100K, but there's some that are like 150K. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not do
Crazy. That. So yeah, I think of the Ironman for some reason, but still, yeah. Like obviously a very fit lady. Jules, do you have some questions for Joseph? I'm sure you've got burning questions.
I always want to know about people's relationships. So I suppose the closest relationship we saw, it seemed, was you and Leah. Can you tell us about that?
So me and Leah just kind of like hit it off, and we were both kind of like realized we were the kind of like quirky, outgoing, and I think the whole Amanda vote really solidified us working together because she was like, "Oh, I want to do this. I don't like getting told what to do." I'm like, I'll work with you. This is great." And we kind of corralled everyone to do that at the last minute. And then we were obviously swapped together, and Leah knew that she was kind of on the outs, I guess. And there was a couple of times, I don't know whether it made the edit, where she was like, Joseph, we were all in the group all together, and she was like, if everyone wants to vote for me and we protect Joseph, then that's totally okay. And I'm like, Leah, you don't have to do that. Why would you do that? And then in confession, I was like, this is the best position ever. I can't believe Leah's doing this. This is perfect. I will let her do that. So that's
the best ally you could have ever hoped for.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I was like, this is just another thing that's like just being spoon fed to me on like a gold plated spoon at this point in the game, that someone's willing to like tank their whole game for me. So I was very thankful for that relationship. And I built so many other kind of like relationships as well. Even though Kristie and I didn't work together, I felt like we were working together at some point, just out of a shared experience, I guess. I know I voted for Denny a lot, but I actually really enjoyed Denny, and I'm not sure why I voted for her so many times. Both Leah and I were really shocked, because we didn't realize that Shayna voted for Leah, that vote that we thought that he was going to vote for us. And maybe, I think that was a very smart move on him, because I was like, going to double count, I was like, it could be Leah. And I remember talking to Denny, I was like, Denny, is it me? And she's just like, no, but don't tell anyone. I knew that I was going to be safe, but maybe I should have voted Leah to be on the right side of the vote. But at the same time, to me, being on the wrong side of the vote at once or twice is not necessarily game killing either. I wasn't too worried about that, but I definitely was surprised at Shane. It's been Shane. Our relationship was one of more of a necessity or being forced to work together, like two children that don't really get along, and you're like, okay, you guys have to work together for this game because we want you to be friends or something like that. And it just, I never really gelled with him game-wise because I think I resented the fact that I thought he didn't know what he was doing. I'm like, he hasn't seen Survivor, he's not a real fan. But at the same time, I think he was one of the most dangerous people in the game because there's nothing worse than like a bull in a china shop really that doesn't know what they're doing with so much power.
You can't predict him. You can't put all your hours of Survivor watching and try and like categorize what he should do, what objectively is the best thing for him to do based on your perception of Survivor gameplay. Because you don't understand him, his style, or how he thinks about any of this because it's all fresh.
Exactly. And when you ask him, he doesn't know how to articulate it either. But I think that just came from experience, not necessarily that he's a bad communicator. Sometimes trying to work with him was hard as well. Like in the Kristie and Denny vote, it was just, I'm voting Kristie and you can't. Not that he threatened me like Ethan did, but he wasn't budging. Like Ethan wasn't budging. So that was a bit difficult to work with as well.
I could imagine that because he doesn't have he's not a bad communicator and he's not. He's intelligent, but he doesn't have the words that come from just watching and being a part of the fandom, which aren't necessary. But when you're trying to condense a conversation into a very short period of time before a tribal council to agree a proposal, and you're having to not just like talk about the vote, but also explain why you think that's the right vote, and then using the right words and say about rocks or flipping and all that sort of, like to him,
he doesn't speak the language.
They might mean different things. Rocks and flipping, completely different thing to him. What a flipping is. Yeah.
At the same time, it was refreshing. I would say it was very, very refreshing. I think every LIG couple have never either watched or just really filthy casuals that don't care for it. I think it makes the game much more interesting. They're definitely
absolutely. You don't want 16 super fans. The key is to have the people that aren't super fans, the filthy casuals or the no fans, to actually provide good TV, which can be a challenge. But Shane is actually delivering on that. So he's a really fantastic wildcard character in this season and is really bringing a really interesting dynamic. But it's hard to find that. He's a bit of a unicorn like that.
Oh, 100%.
I 100% agree. Yeah.
Well, Max's question that he always loves to ask is, did you have a good time? We got to ask that for Max. Did you have a good time?
I did. Honestly, this was the funnest experience I've had in such a long time. And I'm a massive Survivor fan. And I've always wanted to go on the show. I've almost got on the show once before, which was really exciting. Never happened. But this was kind of like my whole, I get to experience something that I always wanted to do. And I've kind of now been like bitten by the LRG bug. So I'm going international, but I'll just keep it as that.
Very good. Well, is the Cayman Islands like? Is it got any sort of connection with America? No, probably not. You just a short jump to America. Go get American citizenship.
Yeah, it's only an hour away, but like even though we're overseas British territory, our currency is tied to the US dollar. We get a lot of US tourists because it's so close. It's very Americanized here, which means being a bit of an adjustment, but it is also very close to a number of very big, long-standing US LIGs as well. Which
maybe you could be the first person to cross over into the American LIGs. We'll see you on Maryland or something. Maybe you'll be the first person from Australia to ever do that. That'd be amazing. Is that something we could perhaps look forward to? Hopefully.
No comment.
Oh, interesting. Oh, wow. Wow. Exciting.
Is this like when we asked Annabelle if she was going to be on the Traders and she said no?
Well, she had to say no. She had signed an NDA.
Mm-hmm.
Now Joseph has signed an NDA, but he's just being coy with us.
I don't know. You have to find out.
Well, I just want to say thank you, Joseph. It's early in the morning for you to come on. And I noticed you've been commenting on a few of the podcasts, so you must have been getting up early to watch the podcast, which is even more we appreciate. Thank you for being a great contestant on this show. It's a bit of an unlucky boot, but it makes sense. I probably would have taken you out here if I was them as well. I think you were just too threatening as a social player and a shooting player. Thank you, Jules, for joining me as always, and Nat for joining us, our special guest Orca. Nat always brings great value to everything she does. I'm sure everyone knew you already, but now more people will know you.
Oh,
For those that are following the org, the Bren Viver we talked about last week, Nat and I are interviewing. Nat won that last season, and we are interviewing boots as they come out from time to time. Jules is still in it, so secret.
yes, she is, queen.
Hopefully, you're not talking to me anytime soon.
Yeah.
No.
So we got. I think next week is the penultimate episode, which I hope has a double boot or something, because I don't know if we're going to be rolling this final with 6 people to interview after it, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
My preference would be 5 people in the final, but let's see what happens. But it's the penultimate, and then obviously there's going to be a big finale 2 weeks from today. We'll keep interviewing, we'll keep catching up with people, keep tuning in for the Survivor Sydney coverage. And I'm just going to do a little bit of an announcement now. People can start getting planning. I have it on fairly good authority, as in I talked to all the hosts, that there will be no other LRGs coming out for the rest of the year. I know, sad face for everyone. We've got a bunch of new ones to look forward to in the new year. So I will be doing a fan poll ranking the existing 13 Australian LRGs in Australia. I'll have voting open for a month. I'll be sharing it around, and then we will do deep dive podcasts on every single one of those seasons, starting with number 13 and going down to number 1 based on the fan community votes. So
does that mean you're going to talk about your own season?
Yes.
Oh.
Rob Sestonino did it. Rob Sestonino talked about the
You
Amazon.
are Rob Sestonino.
I am the Australian equivalent. This is the Australian or LRG equivalent.
All right.
So we'll get the voting going, and we'll have it for every month. I'll share it around all the communities. Everyone can vote, and then we will, for each season, we'll have the voting like they did as well. But we won't be doing one a week. It'll be more like one a month. So that gives everyone a chance to watch. I know a lot of people here are newish to the community, or they've been here for a while, but you just haven't watched every single one of them. This is your chance to take the time, watch it, and join a podcast talking about it. So we'll see what happens, what comes first, what comes last. But that's something to look forward to in the back end of this year, where there won't be any more Australian LRGs coming out. What do you think you would vote for number 1, Joseph? Sydney?
That's yes. No. I mean, if you don't vote for yourself to win, what are you doing? I would have done that if I was at Final Travel Council. You get to vote for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think there'll be a lot of interesting votes, because you'll be ranking 1 to 13. So it's not just 1, it's where you rank everything. So look out for that. I'm going to start the voting for that when Sydney Survivor finishes, because obviously it needs to finish before people can get a full assessment of how the season went. And then we're running that into the new year. So thank you, everyone that joined here. Thank you, everyone that watched the episode and has watched the podcast today or is listening to it thereafter. Look forward to seeing you next Sunday. Thanks, Joseph, Nat, and Jules. We'll catch you soon.
If anyone wants to knock your bank account, just email me.